Welcome back, I'm Chris Moore with HVAC Pro Blog, and this week, I'm just going to ask you the question, have you ever done a manual J and doubt the results? Let's talk about it. Alright, like with any new tool or process, it takes some time and repetition to build trust, right? I remember getting a bit complacent when I would be troubleshooting at a condenser, maybe get shocked with a varying degree of electricity, and lose trust in my meter or process for a bit. This would put me into a heightened state of awareness for the next week or two before my trust and maybe some complacency came back. This goes the same for load calculations. The first problem I see is that most system designers not consistently completing load calculations, and only when they know they need to for certain municipalities that require them for building permits. When you only break out a tool or a process a few times a year, I can see why you probably have a little doubt that might creep in. Yes, the load will be smaller than your rule of thumb typically, and of course you should look at the details. If you don't, it would be like diagnosing a failed part, only using the audible beep on your multimeter. Sure, there's resistance, but how much, right? Anytime I'm asked to review a load calc for accuracy over the last 15 years, the designer usually emails a PDF of the summary page. Keep in mind, this only tells me a tiny part of the story. You need to ship the details with it. About a year ago, I shared an eBook and short training on this, recorded it, and posted it to YouTube. In the Northeast, there's a lot of focus on heat loss, and with good reason, right? With as many as 10 times the heating hours versus cooling hours, the tendency to believe that there's a never a large enough system creeps into most people's minds very early in the process. This is particularly true when replacing a system that might be twice as large as it needed to be in the first place. Remember, that old, or sometimes not so old system, failed for a reason. Could it have been oversized based on an ancient rule of thumb? Maybe the duct system wasn't too small, and the furnace, heat pump, or AC was too big. We need to stop trying to size for 100% of the time. Remember, the process works for 99% of the time. Don't even get me started on the sizing of variable speed systems. They don't ramp down to 1 BTU per hour, right? Of course the process and limitations still apply. There are quite a few phrases that can get me off on a tangent while teaching courses in person. Seems like not so long ago, right? I was doing a lot of these. Or keeping up just on social media. I actually have less of a reaction and can ignore the political posts easier than HVAC design faux pas. In the many Facebook and LinkedIn groups that I belong to, I seem to see system sizing questions on a weekly basis. The question usually goes, I did a load calc and came up with this many BTUs per hour. It seems a little small. What do y'all think? Of course, instead of scrolling by, I have to read the comments, right? They're loaded with rules of thumb and misguided advice, and that's only backed up with, I've never had a callback confirmations. I agree. They may not have received a callback for a system that was too small, but what about the countless service calls for oversized systems which caused high gas or electric bills, temperature swings, and premature system failures? Although I've tried to push this pile of garbage uphill for many years, my legs seem to be getting a little sore these days. Why is it the old, poor advice just doesn't die off with the previous generations in the industry? Is it really too hard to do things the right way? Is software that expensive? Or, like for new speed traps on a busy street, are we just waiting for someone outside our industry to start enforcing what has been the minimum required by law for decades? I don't know. Seems to be heading that way. Thanks for joining me this week at HVAC Pro Blog, where we provide advice for residential system design, quality installation, and system diagnosis. I'll see you soon.